guys, and welcome back to a race review. And this is for the Daytona 500. And it was a good race. Not the best of races or 500s per se, but the finish, though, was one of the best finishes in recent memory, if not the best finish. And it did become the closest finish, and I haven't really shown it on this channel, but since Gordon hung up the helmet for full-time racing last season, I am a huge Denny Hamlin fan, and seeing him win was absolutely amazing. To see him finally get a 500 victory was great. Now, the racing was great the whole day. I mean, there was never a time where the field was a full-out single-file train, which usually happens in the Daytona 500, but it didn't really happen. It wasn't as crazy as last season where they were 3x3 in the final 20-30 laps, but the racing was great, and I think the racing in the 500 was the best shown all weekend, as it kind of reminded me of older races because you could actually make passes for the lead, unlike the rest of Speed Weeks where the leader really controlled the race, because it was shown early how Kyle Busch could pass Dale Jr. early. He passed him, which really surprised me, and I think it was just a showing of the day racing, which is more of a handling part of the day, where it leads to handling, which creates better racing, and it was shown that handling was pivotal. Turn 4 was Calamity Corner today, as there were multiple incidents where drivers just lost their cars by themselves off of Turn 4. As an instance, the first incident was Chase Elliott, the 24 car. A lot of hype coming into the race, and he was in the middle of 3 wide, and the air spun him around, and he had the car saved up until he got into the grass, and the grass tore up his whole front end of his car and basically ended his day. He would go 40 laps down and would finish 38th. Or 37th. Another incident was Brian Vickers lost it off of Turn 4. And then that collected Carl Edwards and Trevor Bayne. Now, Carl Edwards had a lot of damage, and a lot of people were about to write him off, but they spent a lot of time, took the time, and went lap down, made repairs the first half of the race, stayed a lap down for about 60 laps, got back onto the lead lap, and rode up with his Joe Gibbs teammates, and got a 5th place finish. It looked like his car was from the short tracks, and he got a 5th place finish. Trevor Bayne wouldn't be a factor all the day. There was an incident with Chris Buescher in Matt DiBenedetto in Turn 1, where DiBenedetto lost control of his car. He said there was no good angle of the replay that Fox had. And then I'm assuming Buescher got collected with DiBenedetto with contact. That's what happened there. Dale Jr. lost it by himself. He was making a charge and just lost it. I mean, he's making some headway on the inside or outside line, and he was getting up to about 3rd or 4th, but he got loose and lost it and hit the inside wall head on, and that ended his shot of winning his 3rd Daytona 500. Now, there was also Kevin Harvick that almost lost it, but he went to a big skid to stop and to save his car. Kevin Harvick would later play a major role in deciding the race. So coming to the white flag, it looked like the front five were basically set. It was Kenseth, Truex, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Carl Edwards. And then you had you had Harvick and Logano on the outside trying to make anything happen, a last-ditch effort. Coming into turn one, off turn two, Denny Hamlin pulls out to the outside in front of Kevin Harvick because the outside was getting a little momentum. And then Hamlin was about even with Kyle Busch for a while. And then he would get a big push from Kevin Harvick down the back straightaway. And that would propel Denny Hamlin up to side by side with Truex and get basically past Truex and up to Kenseth. Kenseth was on the bottom line, holding the bottom, and he saw Hamlin, and he thought his only chance of winning the race was to block his teammate Denny Hamlin. And when he went up to the wall to go block, Denny Hamlin cut back down low and went through the middle of Kenseth and Truex. There was contact made, and Kenseth would trail all the way back and almost wreck the car. I thought the top three were going to wreck and the whole field was going to be involved, and it would have been a first car out wins the race. But Kenseth made an amazing save. Hamlin kept his momentum, and Kenseth would finish 14th, which was really disappointing. You could tell after the race he was not happy. Even though he's won 2 500s, it's going to be with him, eating him alive for the rest of this week. Now, Truex had gotten the advantage after the contact between Hamlin and Kenseth. Then, coming into the tri-oval, Hamlin and Truex made contact, and they were beating and banging, and Truex had it up until Hamlin was able to side draft, just inching ahead of Truex and winning the race. It was an amazing finish. It took about a second or two to determine who won that race. I didn't know who won the race until they announced it. I mean, I thought Truex had it up until the last second, and you've got to feel for Martin Truex. I mean, that would have been cool to see him get a win, but it just wasn't meant to be for him. And Denny Hamlin, in his 11th try at the Daytona 500, finally got his win. That he's come so close. He's one of the better restrictor plate racers. I'd argue to say that besides Dale Jr., he is the best restrictor plate racer in the field. And overall for Joe Gibbs, getting 3 out of the top 5 spots. And then if you include Martin Truex, 4 to the top 5, because Truex is he's basically their adopted teammate, as Matt Kenseth said. And it was a great finish to a good race. I wouldn't say it was an amazing race, but it was an amazing finish. And that usually defines most of these races. People don't remember what happened in the middle of these races. They remember the finish. And if it's a good finish, people are going to say it's a good race. So, congratulations to Denny Hamlin. And we will see you next time at Atlanta for another race review. Thanks for watching.